Hello and Assalamualaikum. This is a video presentation on a research paper titled The Government Policies for Property in Malaysia. This research was prepared on June 2020. Here are the authors involved in this research. First things first, the introduction.
As human beings, everybody needs home for shelter in order to protect them against animal, extreme weather, and also natural disaster. Even if house is a basic necessity as humans being, homelessness is still a problem in Malaysia. According to the data from March 2016 to March 2019, the property price below 250,000 is only quarter of the housing development. It shows the shortage of affordable housing in Malaysia because average housing price in Kuala Lumpur is 700,000, meanwhile in Selangor is 500,000. These prices are quite expensive. As any other developing countries, construction sector plays its own important role in contributing 4.5% of Malaysia's GDP. In order to overcome affordable housing issues, construction sector can be exploited, which can also enhance economic growth of Malaysia. Next is the stages of Malaysian housing policy. There are overall 6 stages. The first one is colonial period, second one is early stages of independence, third one is new economic policy, fourth one is national development plan, fifth one is vision development plan, and the last one is national housing policy. In order to tackle issues in housing industry, national housing policy is needed. It acts as a basis of development and planning of housing sector for related authorities, department and also private sector. The goal of NHP is to offer sufficient low-cost, safe and high-quality housing. The objectives are to provide efficient facilities and also healthy environment. Next is to increase the purchasing power of low to middle income households in order to purchase housing. The next one is to enable sustainable development in housing.
I will continue on the literature review of housing affordability in Malaysia. Property prices have increased rapidly in the past few years, making it hard for citizens to own their own home. Housing affordability is a concept that interprets socio-economic and development environments. Housing is considered affordable if it does not occupy more than 30% of a household income. Therefore, housing affordability accommodates the needs of low-income earners to allowing them appropriate affordable housing in the market.
There are actually numerous initiatives suggested and also implemented in Malaysia in order to recover the shortage of affordable and also low-cost housings. The first one is My Home, which designated to help young adults in purchasing housing. The next one is Housing Loan Scheme. It helps low-income individual to purchase houses. Next one is My Deposit. My Deposit help middle-class households to purchase their first home. Moving on, My First Home Scheme fund 100% of residential property to avoid 10% charges for first home buyers. The next one is BSN My Home. BSN My Home help youth to purchase sub-sales, ongoing or completed property. Next one is Rumah Selangorku, which helps households to purchase housing according to their income. There are variation of housing types which can be suitable with their household income. The last one is Prima, which offer a variety of types and also sizes of housing for Malaysian citizens aged 21 years old and above. There are history of housing delivery system in Malaysia. The first introduced housing delivery system is the Sell Then Build, which is in 1980. So the STB is where developer gain money from buyer and also final institution. The deposit will be paid by buyer at 10% and the balance is paid installment by bank. This type of housing delivery system is quite risky for buyer because buyer need to pay developer monthly installment even though the house is not yet completed. This type of HSD have been abused by developer. For that, new housing delivery system have been introduced named Build Then Sell. Build Then Sell is where buyer need to pay 10% deposit and the balance of purchase price will be paid by buyer when the development is completed. So this decreases the risk of buyer from abandoned projects by developer. This type of HSD is also safer and implemented until now.
The national housing policy also encounters issues and challenges from the housing sector. One of the issues and challenges is inability to purchase home according to the market value. The market value of properties has always followed an upward pattern, making it hard for citizens to own their own home. Due to the increasing property prices in Malaysia, the number of abandoned projects has also increased with 200 projects in total. The Malaysian government had shown various initiatives to accommodate this problem, and the availability of the rent-to-own scheme, which is RTO, is a great initiative to increase eligibility of low-income earners to purchase properties in Malaysia. There is also a mismatch between demand and supply according to the location. It is shown that more affordable housing has been constructed at non-strategic location. This concern has led to supply exceeding demand, which eventually leads to overhang properties. The Malaysian government often disregard the fact that affordability is judged based on three factors, which are floor area, price, and location. The third issue is lack of innovation in the housing industry. Low quality of houses has built due to low usage of the newest building technologies, and low quality materials contribute in the decline of project quality. The guidelines imposed by local authorities are somehow different for every project, resulting in inconsistencies and confusion for the private developers. However, KPKT Minister stated that the latest housing policy ensures developers to build good quality houses with efficient amenities for low-income earners. Last but not least, there is no existence of the standardized system in making sure the correspond between demand and supply. It is said that the key housing challenge in Malaysia is the mismatch between demand and supply for affordable housing. It is crucial to balance out between these two to ensure housing supply meets the housing needs for citizens based on location, price, and target group. Generally, houses supplied by the private sector have been sufficient for the high-income group, but houses supplied for the low-income and middle-income groups are still insufficient.
This is Sharmien Andi, and I'll be briefly explaining the methodology applied in our research. We decided to take a qualitative approach in data collection as well as data analysis for this study. As everyone knows, the whole world is currently hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to this unfortunate event, our research was conducted by way of desk research, specifically online desk research. This means that all of the data obtained during the research were from various existing or secondary sources, such as government publications and newspapers. Data from previous relevant studies were also collected and reviewed to provide background info for the study. Once sufficient data were collected, the contents of the obtained documents and such were analyzed to identify the government housing policies as well as their strategies. A second analysis was then conducted to see the policy's achievement based on the realization of several housing schemes which comply with the policies. This was done by first ascertaining the housing schemes which were developed in tandem with the housing policies, and then determining which policies that the housing schemes were actually able to achieve.
The selected case study for this paper research is Malaysia. So basically, Malaysia is a developed country that are currently improving the living environment of residents in low-cost public housing. Therefore, in order to protect the tenants' rights and avoiding the discrimination against races and gender, the National Housing Policy, including National Community Policy, has established a healthy and vibrant community with various social building programs. The KPKT, which is Housing and Local Government Ministry, has revealed that the National Housing Policy will solving the mismatch problem of demand and supply of the property, since the scenario is quite worse in Malaysia. Therefore, they gathered both public and private sectors in order to achieve a common objective in figuring out the solution for this problem for 8 years starting 2018. The Minister of Housing and Local Government Ministry, Zuraida Kamarudin, has proposed several programs that will focus on B40 group for the next 5 years. She mentioned that the policy was made in order to tackle on diverse issues faced by low-income groups, such as enhancing the environment of low-income residents and also supplying the property with affordable prices. She proposed an option, which is a rent-to-own scheme, where the buyers can choose to rent the house for the first 5 years and apply for end financing to purchase it into 6 years. It was mentioned that the rent to own can help low-income group to increase their credit score as they will need to pay the rental every month. On the other hand, the Housing and Local Government Ministry also had reviewing the Build Then Sell, which is BTS policy which can reduce the risk to the purchaser. The guidelines of the construction for the development are significant as to ensure the developers construct a good quality houses with required infrastructures and facilities.
Moving on to results and discussion. Subsequent to housing issues that were outlined in the previous slide, the Ministry of Housing and Local Government has introduced National Housing Policy for year 2018 to 2025, which consists several focus in the effort of tackling the identified housing issues. Focus 1 of the policy is ensuring quality housing for the community. Quality housing is deemed as vital for habitable and sustainable living environment. Thus, there are several strategies laid out to realize the policy, such as creating quality housing standard (PPB) to increase the quality of housing, recreating development program for building rejuvenation purpose in meeting the PPB requirements, improving building maintenance activities to comply with PPB, defining government roles and establish institutions to prepare and maintain quality housing, and lastly, determine needs and wants in increasing housing supply and thus specify target program for the government housing support. However, it has been found that quality housing standard, which is PPB, has yet introduced by the government. Thus, most of the outlined strategy mentioned earlier has not yet executed.
Focus 2: Improvements of the accessibilities and level of competency in housing ownership. The action plan that has been introduced involves 4 strategies. The first strat is seizing the opportunity in the technological development by supporting the ecosystem in the improvements of housing supply and productivity. For instance, the implementation of modern construction, which are Industrialized Building System (IBS) and Building Information Modeling (BIM). Next is the measuring the housing capabilities in accordance to the location to improve the supervision work and valuation by the state and local authority. Strategy 3 involved the providence on various housing scheme options through the standardized rental market in order to fulfill the needs of the public. Next is the improvement on the existing housing loan scheme in order to provide an inclusive and sustained solution for the low and middle income group in the providence of affordable housing.
Focus 3 of the housing policy is ensuring quality and cohesive neighborhood. Quality and cohesive neighborhood lead to good community bonding as well as harmony and safe environment. There are 2 strategies in ensuring quality and cohesive neighborhood, which is the first one is by providing and maintaining the quality of facilities and services within the neighborhood to encourage community living. And secondly is by strengthening the quality of neighborhood by empowering rules and community spirit.
Focus 4: Improvements of the coordination on the development housing and transportation for lifestyle qualities. Strategy 1 is by aligning the process housing planning and sector in the district, structure, local and private area to increase the comprehensive and consistency of the vision with the effort in elevating of participation from the public. The next thread is by strengthening the capabilities of the state authorities and local authorities in the supervision and the integration of the housing and transportation in the stages of analysis, planning, and execution. The action plan includes by strengthening the liaison between the housing agency and the state transportation in the effort to assess the needs of the household in order to provide awareness and create uniformity or standardized planning in local and state level. Then, by strengthening the budget for research and development purposes continuously and periodically for housing and transportation in the state level. This will encourage new and fresh ideas in the process wholly. The table shows the realization of housing policy government. It covers 4 different housing issues, which includes the inability to purchase home according to the market value, mismatch between demand and supply according to the location, housing industry lack of innovation, and the non-existence of standardized system in making sure the correspondence between demand and supply. As for the housing scheme, it is being divided into different colors, which include the My Deposit Scheme, Housing Loan Scheme, and Affordable Housing Scheme. Okay, back to the table, we can derive that most of the housing policies, which are being divided into 4 focuses, are interrelated with one another, which is the housing issues and the housing scheme. Therefore, the government has come up with different types of housing scheme in order to give security on home ownership. Okay, from the table, we can see that Affordable Housing Scheme has partial success on combating the housing issues in accordance to the National Housing Policy.
For the conclusion, remarks can be made that numerous strategies has been structured by the government in ensuring the effectiveness of the national housing policy in overcoming the rising housing issues. It can also be observed that the government is really working toward improving the housing sector in Malaysia by improving the affordable housing provision based on the locality and needs, improving affordable housing financial accessibility, ensuring good housing quality, improving housing and transportation coordination, and ensuring quality and cohesive neighborhood within the housing sector in Malaysia.
And that is all from us. Thanks for watching.